Board of Supervisors meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 18th. We are in the boardroom. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any agenda deletions today? Hearing none, the agenda will stand as presented. Do I have any discussion on the consent agenda?
I have nothing.
I'd like to do roll call, please, before we start the formal proceedings.
McIntyre?
Here.
Peter?
Here.
Snell?
Here. On the agenda then, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye. On the claims, we had a big one this time,
Yeah, I see that.
1.5 million. A third of that was the engineering department. Do you have a motion to accept the
I'll make
claims?
a motion to approve the claims.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye. Motion carried. We're on to
There it is.
number 3, consider approval for special Class C retail alcohol license for Back Pocket Brewing.
Oh, thank you.
Is there any discussion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye. Item number 4, Rudolph Insurance update with possible action. I think that we need to have a little bit of explanation on this. I believe that, Darren, you had some meeting also, so you might want to be specifically responding to what's going to present.
Hi.
Hi.
So stay within the time. And trying to make a market.
Sorry.
This is the hardest in Iowa. We're still that insure the. I see it getting worse. You could just look. And Iowa. As far This year. So it's not 2%.
Right.
So the courthouse. That would be 2%, the next one would be 2%. So what we're seeing in a reaction to that is, as you know, people who try to help the board out and cover risk, just like last year, we went to the market and priced out a separate insurance policy, which would buy that wind hail deductible down from a $250,000 minimum, 2%, to a flat amount. And so this year we brought two options. You can buy it down to 25 grand or 10 grand. So we'll take the 10 grand, for example. If you bought that deductible buy down and you had a claim, no matter what the amount of the claim is on the wind hail side, the county would only be responsible for $10,000. This insurance policy would pick up the rest of the 2%. So hopefully I kind of explained that well. It's similar to this decision you made last year. It's just the terms that went from 1% to 2%. On the top line of the first page, you can see the differences in the policy year. The policy we're coming out of, we are insuring $91 million of property. The policy we'd be going into would be $101 million. That's due to adding the new engineers building, which is a roughly $6 million of value, and the rest would be just inflation to replace that. The next page I would talk about would be page 7. If you want to flip to that, it would be the workers' comp. So it would say Argent at the top with workers' comp. We all on that page? Okay, perfect. So workers' comp is something the county has some controllables over. You know, that's employees essentially getting hurt at work. So many years ago, it was really bad, and the county had a lot of claims, and we were paying a lot of premium, and through a lot of hard work over the last 5 or 6 years, things have really gotten cleaned up. We have even had years where we've received a performance dividend, which is a return of premium for not having a lot of claims. Last year, we were tracking to get a dividend, and right before the policy period ended, a big claim got turned in. So we're kind of in the same boat this year. I don't want to jinx it. We are tracking to get a nice dividend. We did have to turn in a couple claims, 2 claims. Small, so it doesn't look like it would affect the dividend. So if everything stays status quo until 7/1, then we would be on track to get a dividend for this year, which would be good. I think the last dividend we got was in the $50,000 range. So on the work comp, payrolls are up 24%. So the payrolls you used last policy period have gone up 24%. So the premium will go up a little bit. Your 2 most expensive codes are your street paving, street repair, your engineers, and then of course the sheriffs. So the engineer payrolls went up 17%, the sheriff payrolls went up 43%. So that's gonna drive the work comp up a little bit, but we still got a really good price from the work comp company, because our mod is still good and things are still good overall, and we should be tracking for that dividend. So that's just kind of the update on the work comp. We do watch those things periodically through the year when we have our safety meetings, led by the sheriff. We'll come in for safety meetings where we will discuss any claims and how to take action to prevent or mitigate those claims. And we'll even talk about near misses, like a department head will talk about how they almost had a claim, and then we'll come up with strategies to, mitigate that or prevent it down the road. So the last page would be the premium summary page, and this is where you'll see an option at the very bottom. So we're at page 10, where it says premium summary, and at the very bottom, you'll see your options. So last year, we did a wind hail deductible buy down to $25,000, and the cost was $73,885. This year, we brought two options. You can see below. You can buy it down to $25,000. We also brought a buy down option down to $10,000. So pricing on this policy is better than last year. The $25,000 option would be $60,600. To go down to $10,000 would be $72,400. So my consultation to the board is, if I was in your seat, I would absolutely buy a wind hail deductible buy down. I would buy one of these options. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's just a matter of, do you want the $25,000 or the 10? You can see the price difference. If you have one incident, it pays for itself to go down to the lower amount. And remember, it's per incident. It's not a running total. So if you had a second claim or a third claim, then it would, be a really wise decision to have bought the $10,000. They're both good options. I just employ the board to consider buying one. You guys get it. It's going to be hard to budget for 2% of things that you don't know could happen and how many times it could happen over again.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at. We just kind of need some direction from the board. And do you want to do the 10,000 or the 25? And then I'm here to answer any other questions the board might have.
Darren, you sat in specifically on this meeting. Would you like to provide some
I
feedback?
think the presentation was pretty thorough. I think you hit everything. I mean, ultimately, this is an opportunity for the county to buy down its deductible on wind and hail damage. So I just have a couple questions. Do you remember just approximately what the amount was for our original policy? Like, what's the county paying for this original policy?
For the non-wind hail deductible.
Like originally when we signed this, what are we paying for the original policy? You're asking us to buy down the policy.
Yep, you're saying the traveler's policy.
Yeah, what's the cost of Warren County residents just for the original policy
For this year or the expiring?
for this year?
So this year would be at the bottom where it says total, $752,893.
Okay.
Then the deductible buy down would be on top of that. However, included in that is the work comp piece of $197,512. So I think, as you know, the work comp is with a different company, Argent. So when you put them all together, the total policy renewal would be $752,893 plus whatever option that you would want.
And currently, we have the buy down of $73,885. That was for this year, correct?
Yeah, that's going to be
That was a
ending-
supplemental.
Yep, correct. That's going to be ending July 1st, and you'll
Right,
want to re-up
right,
with the new one.
right.
And that one brought it down to $25,000.
Right.
So essentially, for the same price point, you could go down to $10,000, or you could stay at the 25 and pay $13,000 less this year, because the pricing's better on that this year.
Outside of the workers' comp claims, did we have any significant claims?
We don't have any significant, I'm gonna Penny, we don't have any significant claims, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the risk is,
Yeah.
it's just basically,
Yeah.
we're trying to mitigate our risk.
Yeah.
You're giving us an opportunity to pay.
Yeah, it's very common this is happening. I have another commercial client that's doing a deductible buy down, and I talk to other agents, and everyone's in the same boat.
Right.
It's market driven. It's not Warren County driven. It's just part of being in the Iowa insurance market. And then as a county, your options are very limited anyways. There's really only 3 carriers to choose from. One of them you're with, one of them you used to be with and didn't want to be with anymore, and the other one isn't writing any new counties for the foreseeable future. So really, this year, we had no options.
We don't have any options in our supplier, but we do have options in how we set up our policy.
Correct. Yeah, I'm talking options from
Yeah.
who's actually going to pay the claims and offer the
And
coverage.
is it Travelers that is offering?
Travelers is on everything except the work comp. The work comp is with Argent.
Right, I understand.
Yep.
On the options, are those Travelers options, or did you go out to another company?
Those are Lloyd's of London, correct?
Yeah, the buy downs through Lloyd's of London.
Yeah.
Lloyd's of London.
Yeah.
Cool, yes, good question.
Some carriers won't do a buy down.
Right,
Yeah.
so Travelers is saying this is our best deal, and you guys have done a good job for the county,
Yep.
going out and seeking other coverages or other ways to mitigate our risk.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying
Yeah.
today is, hey,
Yeah.
this looks like a pretty good deal because you're paying $752,000 for your insurance premium. For another $60,000, we could take your hail and your rain down from a $250,000 potential loss to either a $72,000 potential loss or a $60,000
No,
potential loss.
25 or 10.
25 or 10 is really.
Yeah,
deductible.
you're right on the money, right? Yeah, you got it reversed.
Additional 60,000. or
Then you can
additional
buy it down, correct,
$70,000,
yeah,
A $25,000
Yeah.
risk or a $10,000 risk.
correct,
If
Yeah.
we have a claim.
yeah.
Well, and as you were explaining it, the 72,000 is really a much better deal. Because if we have we basically are buying it down to a $10,000 level. So as he indicated, with one incident, you've already paid for the difference in the policy. And
Correct.
besides that, that 72 is similar to what we've already been paying this past year. It's actually slightly less, I
Yeah,
believe.
and insurance is made to cover your exposures, cover your holes. So, and if the budget allows it, I would do the smaller hole. Why have a $25,000 deductible sitting out there when we can bring that down to 10?
And I believe we've budgeted for the same or slightly increased, so I think that this is well within our financial ability to pay for this. As long as the coverage is the same or better.
Yeah, it's pretty simple as far as the coverage. What they do, Mr. Snell, is they require an entire property list of the county, which we give them that from Travelers at the insured amounts. And then Lloyd's of London says, okay, we're going to insure this amount of property that's in the Travelers policy. We're going to insure that 2% portion. And it's just simply your financial risk is the $10,000 deductible or the $25,000 deductible, whichever you chose.
So if we go ahead and approve this today, would we be then, what would be the total amount that we'd be looking at? Is it the
So it would be the 750, let's just round numbers, 752,000 plus the
the
60.
option.
Or 752 plus the 72, correct.
Got it. I just want to make sure we had the right numbers.
Yep, correct.
Okay. Any more conversation, discussion?
No, I think it's a good deal, especially when you add a $6 million building.
Build into
So,
it,
yeah.
brand new on top
Yeah.
of the $45 million courthouse, yeah. I mean, most of the values in the three main buildings, this building, which is, this building, I had some notes here. This building's around $10 million of value. The new building, the engineer building's around $6 million, and the Justice Center's around $45 million. So add those together, and you're at 61, you're over half of
Yeah.
the total value, yeah.
Wow.
Right. Do we have a motion here? Or any more questions first?
I have no more questions.
No questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are we wanting to make a decision today, or are we wanting to pause and have another meeting before we make a final decision, or somebody willing to make a motion regarding today?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to choose option 2 and add to the total of the premium summary for Rudolph Insurance.
Okay, so the motion then is, I'm just going to paraphrase here.
Sure.
Is to approve the premium as presented to us on page 10, summary, with $752,893 as the base, plus option 2, which is $72,433.09. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peters.
Aye,
Snell.
Aye. Thank you.
thank you.
Opioid settlement fund update. Joelle.
Morning.
Good morning.
I was hoping Nikki could be here to give you an update, but she's not available, so I'm going to give you the big picture overview for where we're at with the opioid program. So the program is prepared to go live as of July 1st. We will have 2 staff in that department. Nikki's going to be the coordinator, and then we will also have a full-time health navigator. Currently, to date, we've spent 42% of the budget from the opioid resettlement funds that have come in. And any of the money that's left from fiscal year '24 will roll over into fiscal year '25. What we've been doing in the last 6 months since Nikki's been hired is we developed the positions for both the health navigator and for the opioid coordinator. We've implemented and established policies and procedures, which we'll be bringing to this board for all of you to approve. We've established a program database, which we will keep track of any of the referrals that we've made to anyone who we assist in regard to opioid substance abuse issues and or any other health navigation issues that they need. We have put together and organized a budget for the program, which is actually embedded in the health services budget as well. I've updated the website for the program so that people can access the website and actually make referrals to the program to connect them to the right resources. There are currently 3 reports that are required for these funds that we're using from the opioid resettlement funds. So we have organized that, and we've organized where the funds are coming from and how much from each different vendor that we're getting the funds from, how much we've spent for each one. In addition, there are certain requirements. We can only spend 73% of the funds on core functions, 22.5% of the funds on strategic planning, and 2.5% of the funds on administrative work. So we're keeping track with the budget to make sure that we're only spending that amount of money in each area.
Could you go over that, those numbers again? by
Sure.
category?
Yeah, the overall opioid resettlement funds, as you know, are coming from a variety of different pharmaceutical companies and organizations. However, in the MOU that Warren County has to be able to receive these funds, it clearly outlines how much of those funds you can spend in certain areas of services. So for core functions, which is providing the referrals to the appropriate resources, you can spend 73% of the funds on those activities. You can only spend 22.5% of the opioid resettlement funds on strategic planning. So our policies or procedures, implementing the database that we've created. And then you can only spend 2.5% of those funds on administrative work. So we have to make sure that we're tracking all of the activities that we're doing, which we've implemented a system database to do this, to make sure that we're not exceeding those percentages of the funds that Warren's receiving.
What is the gross amount of money that you're basing this budget on?
Right now, for fiscal year '24, it was $200,000. And I believe that's what I put in for fiscal year '25 as well. It's kind of sporadic because the funds come at various times and because they're coming from different companies, they're coming random. So one year you'll get funds from some pharmaceutical companies, the next year you will not, and then sometimes you won't get them for another 3 years. So we're keeping a real close eye on where we're getting the funds and how much we currently have. So even though, and I know I've been working with Megan as well in regard to this to keep track of it, even though there may actually be more revenue coming in from the opioid resettlement, I'm not budgeting all of that because we have to account each year because it's going to vary depending on the year.
I do have a question as it relates to the funding, surety of the funding, because it sounded like the legislature was looking at doing some different, I don't know, ways of sharing that money. What is the status of that issue?
Yeah, I actually asked that question recently because I know there's a big push for Thrive Iowa, which is a substance abuse, mental health program that's coming out. From what I've heard, whatever the counties are currently receiving will remain for now. So I have not heard any difference that they're looking at retracting any of the allocated amounts that they've been giving the counties across the state. Currently, right now, the state is taking, because the money obviously comes into the state, they take some off the top that's being housed at the state, and I can't remember how much it was. I'm thinking it's like 10% of the overall opioid funds that are coming in, and they're utilizing that money for those Thrive programs and those other programs. And then whatever is being allocated to the counties, from my understanding, is remaining at this point.
And then is it allocated to the counties based on population, or how is that figured?
It has been. It's really random because honestly, and I have this information in my office if you ever would
Yeah.
like to look at it.
All right.
I can supply it to you. But it's interesting because some counties have not agreed to take the opioid resettlement funds across the state. So what they've done then is they reallocate those funds that the counties that aren't taking it to the counties that are willing and are doing something with it. So I think originally was based on population, but then after assessing who's using the funds for a program and who's not, from my understanding right now, Polk County is, and Warren County is, and there's only a couple other counties in the state that are in fact utilizing the opioid resettlement funds. So, So, and I'm not sure if that's just works in progress, and as time goes on, we'll see more counties pick it up. Or if some counties, smaller counties, just don't have the capacity to implement a program. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's too
Thank
bad.
you.
That's too bad.
Do you have anything, Crystal, you want to
Oh,
add?
I'm
No?
excited.
Okay.
This
Thank
is
you very
really
much,
good, Joelle.
You're welcome. Yep, and we can provide you more details, and Nikki can get that to you.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
thank you very
great.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 6, consider a 3-year extension of the current agreement between Warren County and Warren County Attorneys Association with possible action. We had received a letter from Eric Anderson, representing the Warren County Attorneys Association, basically indicating that they would be the representative body. Is there any question?
Nope.
We'd like to bring it forth, please.
Morning.
Morning.
Nothing to add, I just hit, if anybody had any questions, there's a current agreement between the County Attorneys Association and the board that expires at the end of June. What we need to do is renew that agreement. We're proposing that it be for another 3 years, just to save me a trip from coming up here every year. But again, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Any questions?
No.
If not,
I have no questions.
I think we'll, anybody
you.
willing to make a motion to the effect?
Yep.
That we accept the agreement?
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would move acceptance of the agreement as presented to us and renewal for a period of 3 years as indicated.
Second?
A motion second, roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 7, consider contract approval with SVPA with possible action.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have reviewed the contract, and we've reviewed it in the attorney's office. This is a contract between Warren County and SPVA, which is doing the work on the administration building for the redesign. And I have given you a memo that outlines several points that I want to bring to your attention. I also want to give you an opportunity to read through that contract pretty thoroughly, and then let me know if you have any questions or changes or need further explanation of anything by Thursday at 4:30. I say this because we need to talk with SPVA about some things that the concerns I've noted on the memo I've given to you.
Okay. A couple of the points that you brought up, I'm glad that you did identify those, because I was like, yeah, I think we need to include those items. So from my perspective, just reading through your memo, it coincided with my thoughts as I had reviewed the contract as well.
And I know one of the concerns that was expressed earlier is, will the structure, the redesign and the structure handle future office loading? And that's on that addition, the second floor, kind of within the gymnasium area. And the answer is yes. They will make sure that that happens, that it
Okay.
will meet that.
Was that included in the original designing amounts that did they indicate that?
That's a Jamie question.
Sarah's on vacation. And,
Oh. So we still don't have a good answer on that.
So I sent her a message and she responded back and said, we will, exactly what Dawn just said is from Sarah's email. So when she gets back next week, then we'll go over the memo that Don's created with her.
Yes.
And just follow up to make sure that that cost was included in that original reduced scope.
So with these items that you've outlined here, these are the changes then that you're recommending that we
These are the
have included?
recommendations I'm making, and we'll have a discussion with Sarah next week when she's back, and make sure these things get included
okay.
in the contract.
And assuming that board members don't have additional items or concerns about those items, those would naturally be included then in the conversations you're going to have with Sarah?
Yes.
And then that would mean that by Thursday this week, you
Yes.
need any concerns or additions submitted and suggested too?
Absolutely. You can send me an email, you can give me a call.
Yeah.
However you'd like to talk about them or discuss them. We will bring this back to the board on the 27th of
Okay.
this month.
Okay.
Great.
For a meeting and for approval.
Any questions from the board members?
No,
Hey,
thank you,
you
Don.
know,
Thank you.
Please don't hesitate to get in contact with me, because I want to hear what you have to say.
Sure, and we want to keep this thing moving, so.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions about that?
No,
Okay,
thank
then
you.
I think we'll move on to the next item. Item number 8, consider the treasurer's parking lot closure request with possible action. So did you talk to the neighbors?
Here I am again. Darren and Jamie had a conversation with them and came to an agreement as far as I know. I know there's some other workings happening on maybe diverting traffic a little bit as well. So we are requesting, or I am requesting that it be closed every Tuesday beginning the first week of July, which I think is July 2nd.
And was that for the seasonal period, or was that for the entire year? Because it seems to me we had some conversation about whether or not it was just for the, like, warm weather months versus the winter
Yes,
months.
it can definitely be seasonal, but in Iowa, I don't know when the snows, I mean, we can do them up until snow starts falling, so. I don't know if I can set a specific,
Okay.
I mean, we can definitely do a specific month, but I'd say maybe, just thinking October would probably be the latest we would do them.
So you would do them in November or December?
I don't think we typically do.
For the winter.
Okay. So November 1st would be the cutoff?
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, and you could always come back and ask for additional time with,
Okay.
you know, obviously the board's going to be here, so if you're seeing that things are changing or whatever, I would think that if we would move forward with the closure as proposed, running through, I would assume someone's going to make a motion here
Yeah.
regarding the timeline, then that would force, review of the issue here to come back then, whatever that timeline is. Any other questions about the request?
No.
Is there a motion to move the request?
Make a motion, I'll make a motion to create a resolution that closes down the parking lot at the House of Mercy building every Tuesday, starting July 1st, 2024, and ending, going through October 31st, 2025, and happening during that timeframe every year after until changed by resolution.
Okay,
There's,
second?
There's a,
I'm sorry, I have a question. Andrew, you want it prior to July 1st moving forward, right? You don't want it to start, you don't want it to go July to November, you'd like April? Is that when you guys started this year, or May?
Oh, so you're saying July, yes, so it should start, yeah.
well, for this year, I think his motion is frankly just for this remaining year.
Let me add-
So that means that after, and that's running through basically November 1st. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, every year afterwards, the time frame will start April 1st.
Or,
Is that when you want them to start?
I would probably say March 1st.
Okay, well,
do you want to amend your motion?
yeah, I'll amend my motion. Go ahead,
Okay.
whatever you guys want to do.
Do we have a second?
Yep, second.
Okay. I'm going to summarize the motion, what I think you just moved. Basically, that the parking lot at the Temple property would be closed on Tuesdays, starting July 1st, running through October 31st of this year, with then a renewal of that closure starting March 1st of the following year through October 31st, until further action changes that. Is that approximate? Okay.
Very well done.
Very well.
Is that your
Yes,
second?
yes, second.
Okay, roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, we'll go to number 10, number 9. Consider transferring capital asset of the 2017 Ford Explorer from the Sheriff's Office to the Nutrition Department with possible action. This was brought to our attention at the last work session. Is there any question about this?
No.
Can I have a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to transfer the capital asset 2017 Ford Explorer from the Sheriff's Office to the Nutrition Department.
We have a second?
Second?
Motion and second, roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye. Okay, number 10, establish fiscal year 24-25 COLA wage increase and approve pay matrix for non-union employees with possible action. Megan, are you going to come up and share some of this with us? At least review it with us?
So the pay matrix is approved every fiscal year, and this year is the same as last year with the 3% COLA and 3% merit for every, either every step or every grade.
And that was what was in the budget that was approved?
Correct, yep.
Okay, is there any question about this from the board?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 24-25 COLA wage increase and approve pay matrix for the non-union employees.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye. Motion carries. We are on to the next item then. Consider the fiscal year 24-25 wage adjustment for the following departments with possible action.
Michaela sent out payroll resolutions to each department. These are all the ones that she has heard back and got confirmation of the pay amounts. You'll have more on the special meeting on the 27th, but these have all been confirmed with department heads and approved.
Any questions? Do we have a motion to approve the resolutions for the pay, the salaries for 24, 20, whatever it is?
Yeah, 24,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second?
So you're making?
I didn't make a motion.
Oh, I
I
guess,
thought you did, I'm so sorry.
No, I was just saying it's for 24-25.
yeah. I am willing to make that motion if it's necessary. That we establish, I would move the 24-25 wage adjustment for the following departments: attorney, conservation, DCAT, engineer, general assistance, health services, maintenance, nutrition, recorder, treasurer, and weed commissioner, as presented to us with the following resolutions in the packets. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second, roll call.
I just have a question. So,
Sorry.
no, the other departments that aren't on here, it's just simply a clerical.
It's just
Yeah.
kind of still getting
Okay.
confirmation from them.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
They'll be on the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're fine. Okay.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye. On to item 12, budget reports.
Okay, so looking at the expenditures, we are about 92% through the year as of the end of May, and it's looking pretty good. The only two to note would be the medical examiner, which we actually fixed in June. So on the June report, that one won't be over budget anymore. And then Liberty Center, they have spent their complete budget, but they are aware of that and will not be spending any further funds this fiscal year in that budget. So overall, we are looking good. Everybody's within where they should be for finishing out this fiscal year. Moving on to revenues. Looking at DCAT services, they are under budget, but their expenses are about $91,000, so the revenues cover the expenses, so I'm not concerned there. County engineer, they received 6% of their budgeted bridge replacement funds, which is causing them to be a little bit below, but again, they kind of budget across years, so it depends on the projects they complete during the year. Wellness, the transfer you guys approved for this month, so that one will look more in place. Capital projects, this is just a difference of the Great Western Trail funds were actually receipted into the conservation budget. So you'll see that the confirmation revenues are way high, and that's just because those were originally budgeted to go into capital projects, but it's fine. I mean, it all gets put into the general fund, so.
Okay.
And then finally, zoning. We've gotten a few zoning fees this year, and we haven't gotten any of the budgeted subdivision fees this year, so that's why they're sitting at about 70%. Overall, we've received about 96% of our revenues budgeted for this year, and again, we're about 92% through the year, so that's looking pretty good overall. So then finally, sorry.
Excuse me, is there any concern that the remaining 4% that was budgeted for revenue will not materialize? Is there any concern about that, or?
I don't have any concern about that. I think with the June being left, we should reach our goal for the year. Finally, there was an error on the fund balance sheet for the fuel station, so I'm just going to hand you out. Looking at this, the budgets that, or the fund balances that we've been kind of keeping an eye on that are still at the same point. Our general basic is down about 15%. Nutrition's looking better this year. Last year they were negative. This year they should be fine to finish out the rest of the fiscal year with their current fund balance.
And is that because of the extra money that we had
Yes.
appropriated?
Yep.
Basically
Yep.
deal with cash flow. Got it.
And then rural basic is down. That is again expected with the way the budget is for this fiscal year. And then the other ones to note are ARPA continuing to go down as we would expect it as we spend those funds. The secondary roads capital improvement, as they spend funds on their new building, that balance goes down as expected. Liberty Center sewer, that is going down, but we do have a transfer budgeted for fiscal year '25 so that they can continue completing the projects that they have scheduled. And then the rest would be the capital projects that, again, as we spend those balances down, we expect them, like the secondary road shop is at 0 now because they have spent the funds that were allocated from the bond for that. Overall, if we take out the ARPA and the capital projects, our overall fund balances are down about 3.46%. Including ARPA and capital projects, it's down about 14.8% from the prior fiscal year at this time.
Where do we stand relative to our fund balance policy on our fund balances? Are we still within the parameters of our policy?
I'd have to actually go and look at the percentage that we've spent of what's in our fund balance. I know last year when we ended up budgeting, ultimately, obviously some of them would be more than our fund balance policy, such as the rural basic would be going down more than that. General basic's probably still within our fund balance policy, though.
Any questions
Do you have any?
on revenues,
Oh, okay. Okay,
fund balances? Or expenses, so I guess you're down.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Megan.
Thanks, Megan.
Okay, we are at item number 13, to receive and file reports. The report we have this month is from the Recorder's Office. Any questions or motion to receive and file?
I'll make a motion to receive and file reports from the Recorder.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye. Supervisor reports.
I'll go first.
Darren's passing.
Okay. Yep.
You have something?
My report is for the last two board meetings since May of 21st of 2024. Attended 2 closed sessions, 2 special meetings, an emergency special meeting, 1 work session and 1 I listened to, and a regular board meeting in between that time. That's my report. I have a EMS meeting tomorrow. I'm excited to bring some good news back from that.
For my report, I have, this is the busy week. I have a Warren County Economic Development meeting tomorrow. And then on Thursday, I start out with an Aging Resources, have a HERDA board meeting, and then have a MPO policy meeting in the afternoon. So those are my main meetings outside of the office representing this board. I didn't really report real good about the recent participation I did with the Warren County delegation. We had 14 people from Warren County. That included representatives from Indianola, and Norwalk and Carlisle, and then I represented the county, and we did a trip to Washington, D.C. with the Greater Des Moines Partnership. And that trip focused very heavily on a number of things that we have interest in, one of them being the designation of Interstate 435, which is currently known as Highway 65 and 5 bypass. We have 4 interchanges within Warren County that are on that route. So that is moving forward. The potential for that, out of the meetings that we had in Washington, D.C., the potential for that happening is positive at this point. I would say there's a time frame here, probably the next year to 18 months, that if it's going to happen, that's when it'll be. And main reason for that is because the designation would need to be included in the federal highway reauthorization bill. And that is a 5-year program bill, so we are basically 3 years into that. There's 2 years remaining after working with Senator Grassley's office in particular, and all the other delegation members from Iowa. Pretty strong agreement that if we're going to get this thing done, the timeline is within the next year to 18 months. That means that the Iowa legislature needs to continue doing their part. They got about halfway through the process this year by having the Iowa House was passing both the policy and the fiscal issues that were necessary. I got through all the committee structure. It did not get really completed over in the Senate. So the Iowa Senate is the part that this next year needs to do their part. One of the major concerns that is involved here with this designation, the reason I'm taking a long time is because I think it's important everybody understands what's involved here. People ask the question, what's the value of interstate designation? I'll give you the example. Pleasant Hill, which is located on the 435 route, was not even considered for the Amazon project, which ultimately settled up in Bondurant, Altoona area, because Pleasant Hill as a city was more than 1 mile from an interstate highway. So if people want to know the value and the decision-making that goes on as to why certain things are developed or not developed, that's a very good example. So that is the value. It's 1,000 jobs, and who knows how many millions of dollars of investment that was made, and it was not made in Pleasant Hill because of that decision. They were too far away from the interstate. So from a Warren County perspective, this really opens up our economic development window if we have the interstate designation. It's one of the hurdles that have to be overcome. The hurdles include allowing and being able to continue use of the roadway for agricultural implements and overweight trucks to traverse the Des Moines River. And the Highway 5 or Highway 65 bridge over the Des Moines River is the key element there. And so as we go through this next year and working with the DOT and others, they'll be looking at routes and alternatives and whether or not the current route can continue and the exemptions can be put in place that would continue to allow those implements and the overweight vehicles to traverse the Des Moines River on the route. To make everybody aware, these exemptions for traversing interstate highways like this, they are all over the country. In fact, they exist otherwise in Iowa on other interstate highways. So in terms of understanding whether or not this can be done, there's already examples there. So the issues that we are dealing with here in the next year really mean getting this through the Iowa legislature and also then being prepared to work with our federal delegation. And the like language in all these places needs to go through the Iowa House, the Iowa Senate, the U.S. Congress, and also the U.S. Senate, and be basically put in legislative action here. So it's an exciting time potentially for Warren County if that all happens. There's another key element with all that that I think we all need to understand. Polk County, Des Moines specifically, was able to get additional federal funds to complete the MLK road from basically East 30th Street all the way over to Highway 65. And so with that, the actual construction of that will be completed in 2027. The Des Moines International Airport Terminal will also be completed at that same time frame. And so if you think about the timing that we're talking about with this designation of the Interstate 435, it also potentially would come into play all at the same time. So there's a lot of, I think, very positive activity that could come as a result of the designation. So that's part of the work that I've been doing this last month, working with it. And I've actually been working through the MPO this last year on behalf of Warren County to work with some of the local folks and the local interests to help to make sure that conversations continue. It's when people don't talk and people assume certain things, that's when we have problems. So we've been having those conversations and hopefully we'll continue to have those going forward. As far as the other works that I've been involved with, we haven't had as many meetings this last month. Like I said, the week is a particular week when we'll be having lots of conversations. So that's my report for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything, we're at that point in the agenda where we can have public input. Is there anybody that would like to speak to the board? If you would like to, you are limited to 3 minutes. Seeing no one, our next meeting date will be Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. I just want to make the public aware, we will probably have another meeting, especially to consider the contract and some of those other things. So there will be another formal meeting before that. But as far as our regular scheduled meeting, July 2nd is our next meeting that we're scheduled for. June 20th, yeah. Okay, so we have the June 27th meeting will be scheduled as also. Okay. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion? Second, roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Hey, Joe.